Hello, it's Mike here. Welcome you to my new project, or maybe it's nothing new, but this is the first international edition of High Heels on Bitcoin. It used to be Polish only, but now we'll speak in English. And my guest today is Lea Thompson from Girl Gone Crypto and other different social media activities. You can find her on Steam Sisters and many different accounts. Multi-talented girl. So I hope you will like my interview. So thumbs up and let's go. Welcome everyone to this new edition of High Heels on Bitcoin. It is international edition and my guest today is Lea Thompson, girl who has gone crypto. So hello.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
I'm very glad. It's my first time, so I hope I won't make a fool of myself. So can you tell me a few things about your person? Because just like I've told you before, you are multi-talented. You do a lot of things, different things, but crypto is one of them, right?
Yeah, so I got started in the crypto space a few years ago through a blockchain called Steam, which is a social blockchain, and started making content. So like you mentioned, I do a lot of different things. One of the things that was really fun for me with that blockchain is you earn crypto and it's based on the blockchain, but you don't necessarily have to post about crypto. Like you can do ukulele videos and do like fun, vlogs and things like that, and still kind of get to know the crypto community. And so that is kind of like the last few years, that's what I've been doing. And more recently have been getting involved in attending more crypto conferences and speaking and doing things like that.
And how did your adventure start? Someone introduced you, or you just heard over the net, or?
Yeah, so my boyfriend's a long time crypto person. He's been involved in crypto since I think 2012 or 13, and so had been telling me to buy Bitcoin for a while, and I wished I had listened to him. But back in kind of early 17, ran across the Steam blockchain and was like, hey, I think you might like this. This might be kind of interesting. And so I always call it my gateway drug to crypto, because I started posting ukulele videos and doing kind of things that I already like doing. And then while I was on the Steam blockchain, just started seeing other posts about crypto, and it got me really curious, like, well, where is this money coming from? How does this actually work? And so it was kind of the introduction that got me really curious about blockchain, which then, like, once you kind of start going down the rabbit hole and get really interested in learning, it's pretty amazing when you're like, wow, this is the future. This is going to change the world. And so yeah, that was really kind of how it started, with just kind of making fun content. And now I'm pretty all in, pretty excited about being involved in the crypto space.
Yeah, cool. I have seen a lot of of things you do, and you have a lot of time and many talents, because not only crypto, but I saw you play piano, you play guitar, you sing, a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's fun to kind of explore different things and play around with different types of content and music and interests. So yeah, I really enjoy just kind of dabbling in a bunch of different areas.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Okay, next question is the one I have sent you. So I would like to ask you about Steam Sisters, because I already know it is your sister. Yeah, how did it start, and can you tell me more about this project, or however I can call it?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned a few years ago, I got involved in the Steam blockchain, which for those of you who don't know, is a social blockchain that has a bunch of different dApps built on it. DTube being a decentralized version of YouTube, which is mainly the dApp that I use. And so I was just having so much fun on it, and like actually earning a pretty good amount of crypto doing it, and getting to meet all of these amazing people. And I was just having such a positive experience that I told my sister, I was like, you've got to do this with me. Like, this is really fun. And so we started a channel for her, and you know, we decided to start doing a show together, and we called it the Steam Sister Show. And we literally just talk about everything under the sun, and we have 2 episodes a week, and it's just this really fun. We get together once a week and hang out and film and talk about life and drink wine, and that's that's pretty much what we do. But it's been really fun because that's kind of been her introduction to the crypto world as well. And now she has traveled with me to multiple different like crypto conferences that I've been speaking at, you know, because I'm like, hey, I'm going to Austin, I'm going here, do you want to come with me? And so it's been really fun that this has allowed us to not only get together once a week and just kind of have fun and chat, but has allowed us to travel together as well.
Yeah, speaking about Steam and DTube, yes, I post there too, but do you think that because some people say that this Steam especially platform is a buggy one, or how because it's open for abuse, because you can use this ecosystem and violate the rules. You can earn a lot of Steam just making fake accounts or upvoting your own content. What do you think about it? Shouldn't they change it a bit?
Definitely. So I think that anytime that you are pioneering something new, like now there are other decentralized social sites that are coming up, whether they're on Tron or EOS, but Steam being like really the first pioneer with Dan Larimer's vision, you know, there's going to be things that you think are going to work out a certain way, and then in reality, when human beings get in contact with it, sometimes, you know, they can, like you said, game the system and do different things like that. And so I know that with various hard forks, they're trying to correct and help in different ways, but it truly is decentralized. And that's part of why, you know, maybe change can sometimes be a little bit slower, because you need consensus from all the witnesses. And so there's not necessarily a centralized authority that's saying, okay, like we need to fix this. It has to actually be approved by the witnesses. And so, yeah, just with anything that's kind of a new technology, you know, a new idea, it can take a while to evolve. But I do think that continually Steam is moving in a direction where it's trying to improve. And what's really cool, I think, is that because it's totally open ledger, like all blockchain, you like the community is coming up and solving a lot of those problems. And so you know, with Steam at Inc. maybe said, hey, we're going to come out with this certain feature, and then they fell behind in their timeline. The community came up and said, hey, we've got a bunch of developers, we're just going to make our own product on the Steam blockchain that solves that same problem. And so that's what I think is kind of cool, is you see the community rising up and really making the changes that they want to see happen on the blockchain.
Yeah, community is very important to every project, but I think it's a long road ahead of Steam or DTube. People expect that they catch YouTube or Facebook in a year or few months. It's impossible. Tak? It takes just look at the YouTube. How long have they developed their product, or maybe even Microsoft Windows. I don't know. Maybe you use Apple, but it's a long road and it took years to develop. So it won't happen overnight. So people must be patient.
And I do think that with anything that is blockchain related, generally it's going to be more complicated or confusing than just a regular like Facebook, YouTube, where you can just quickly sign up. You know, like when there's blockchain involved and you've got private keys and all these different, it confuses the end user if they're not familiar with blockchain, and they're like, how does this work? And so I definitely think that's an area that as more social blockchains you know, come up and more dApps come up, and as Steam evolves, like hopefully that onboarding is something that can become easier and easier and easier for people, because let's face it, people have a pretty short attention span, and if it takes too long to get started, they might not do it. So that's an area that I hope to see kind of continue to improve.
Yeah, I think they should work on the UI or front end, because well, I don't especially like it, because I cannot upload basically any picture. They cannot resize it for me. Just small details, but they need to update it. Okay. Okay, next questions. You mentioned.
Real quick, that's kind of Oh, I was just gonna say, and kind of with that to that point, I agree. I think that the steemit.com UI is not great, but there are kind of what I was talking about, the community building their own. Like, there's other interfaces that are more user friendly, like SteamPeak, and like so there's other ways to or Partico. Like, there's other developers have made smoother UIs for Steam, so that's kind of part of it too, I think.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that. I need to check it out. Okay, you have mentioned that you participate in conferences. How? I don't know how to ask it. Do you do it often, like every month or once a quarter or something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would love to be at more conferences. I try to go to as many as I can. So part of where I'm at in my life right now is balancing still working and having a job, and then working kind of in the crypto space, kind of on my time off. And so with a corporate job comes a limited amount of time that you're allowed to
Yeah.
leave said job. And so I get to as many conferences as I can with the vacation time and that I'm allowed at work. And so I am looking to transition fully into the crypto space in the next, hopefully year or two. But kind of where I'm at now, I have more requests to attend conferences than I have the ability to at this point in time, which is really cool, it's exciting because that makes me feel excited for when I am able to go fully into the crypto space. It'll be really fun to start attending more and more events.
But do you travel all over the states or maybe the West Coast?
Yeah, so I try to look at events on the West Coast because it's quicker and easier for me to get to and will take less time off work. But that being said, I recently also spoke in Austin and Toronto, and I'm going to be speaking in Philadelphia next month.
Nice.
And then Bangkok in
Oh my God, Bangkok?
That's a little far.
Yes.
And then I was in Poland last year, actually, for a crypto event as well.
Yeah, we will talk about it later, of course, about Poland. Of course, in Poland we have a lot of conferences, but this year is, I think it's poor. We don't have many. I don't know why, because I think 2018 was bad year, everything dropped, it was bear market and things like that. But now I don't know why. I attended to 2 or 3 conferences this year, and of course Poland is much smaller country. It's like, I don't know, 500 miles to travel from one border to another. So so it's not like States where you, I don't know, thousands of miles or something like that.
3,000 or something. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And what do you think about those conferences? Are they professional or? Because in Poland, sometimes when I attend to conferences, I see the same faces, the same speeches, and sometimes they are boring. How is it in the States?
Yeah, I'd say that of all the conferences I've been to, they usually have pretty varied speakers. And so maybe that's part of the ones you've attended all being in kind of a smaller geographic area. You see a lot of the same people. But for me, I also spoke in Vegas last year. So like from Vegas to Austin to Philadelphia to Toronto, like they're pretty far away from each other. So you're getting, some of the big names that you would expect, but also more of the kind of local people. And so you're getting to meet different people. But in terms of the professionalism, I would say my favorite events are the ones that are kind of a mix of professional and fun. And so obviously like the conference being really well executed, really well run, having great content, like that is amazing. But I think also having like really fun after hours events is like, in my opinion, a lot where the magic is, because so many of the collaborations and ideas and things that have come for me out of conferences where it's something that I'm able to then work on with someone after I leave didn't necessarily happen at the conference, but happened in the bar, that night.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I think sometimes when people go to conferences, they really underestimate the value of going out at night and having fun with people, because maybe you do karaoke a night and then the next day at the conference you guys are like, that was so fun, we've got to do something together, this is awesome. And so I think there's a lot of power in just when you go to a conference, just go all in, don't expect to get a lot of sleep, just go to the conference, go to the after hours, do it all, and usually that's when you see the most benefit, I think, from these events.
I totally agree. In Poland, we call it after party, and then we party all night or some part of night. And I think the most interesting thing are there. You can talk to people, because when you go, you see the speeches tag. You can talk to speakers, but then when people drink alcohol, they are more open, and you can learn many things that they wouldn't normally tell you. Another question about the United States. How popular is crypto in United States? Is it really in mainstream right now, or is it just new technology for geeks and something like that?
I'd say that it's actually Facebook and Libra, like that's kind of helped it catch a little bit more mainstream wind lately, like more so than just like, obviously when Bitcoin starts to rise in price, it shows up in the news more, but even then that's still mostly a lot of people that are already into finance and things like that might read it, but like everyone uses Facebook, right? And so when there was all this news about Facebook coming out with the coin, I think that actually did a lot for getting everyday people talking about crypto. So in terms of kind of, like the general public being aware, I'd say we still have a really long way to go. More and more people, like they're becoming familiar, like, oh, I've heard the word crypto or Bitcoin, but they still have no idea what it even means. And so I think that first step of them being like, okay, at least I've heard of this before is valuable, but we still have a really long way to go. Research shows that it takes someone hearing something at least 7 times before it really even starts to click. And so, I think we're kind of still pretty early in that like kind of mass adoption, or that, that phase of people really being familiar with crypto.
Yeah, the funny thing is you answer my questions before I ask them.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask about normal people, not financial system, but normal people on the street. But it reminds me of one thing. I organize local meetings called Crypto Stock, because my city is Białystok, and it's kind of word game, crypto and stock. And there was one woman, she came with her husband, and she heard about Bitcoin in 2009, basically when it all started. She wanted to invest, she wanted to buy Bitcoin, but she wanted to know more, and she asked her friend to explain it to her. He was so good explaining that she resigned, and she didn't want to do anything with Bitcoin.
Oh my goodness.
She wanted to invest a lot of money, so now she could be like a billionaire or something. But now they are back, and now they are investing together with her husband. So it was one of the funniest stories I have heard on those meetings. But yes, there are. Are there any local meetings in your area, like in Seattle?
Yeah, so I'm in a city that's kind of between Seattle and Vancouver, BC. Okay. And so Vancouver is a little bit closer for me. So I've gotten more involved with the Vancouver scene. And so Seattle is just a little bit further, and the traffic is a lot worse. So I don't go down to Seattle that often. But I've been meaning to get down there, because Seattle's actually got quite a bit of crypto action happening. Like Bittrex is based there, and there's a few other pretty big blockchain companies based in the Seattle area, as well as Amazon, Microsoft. Like, it's a really big tech city, and so there's definitely a lot of blockchain happening in Seattle, but also Vancouver. I've just been amazed at how many blockchain companies I've met that are based out of Vancouver, BC as well.
Well, I was right. Vancouver is in Canada.
It is, yep. So I live really close to the border. I live maybe about a half-hour drive from the border.
So it isn't difficult to cross the border with Canada, yeah?
No, it's pretty easy. I mean, you might sometimes get stuck in a line, but they ask you a couple of questions. It's pretty easy to get across.
Well, in Europe, in Poland, we have joined the EU, and we are now in the Schengen. I don't know how to how to name it. it's a special Schengen area, I would call it. So we can travel to every country without, and there are no borders. So we can just go from
That's so nice.
from Warsaw to Paris without seeing any borders. So Europe is becoming like one country, but just like states. But well, it isn't going in the right direction, I think. So so maybe then. Okay, so you can say crypto is your hobby and you have normal job, but you want to go all in.
Yeah, definitely. So, in my day job, if you will, my normal job, I work in sales and I manage some pretty high level clients, and so it's a good job. I enjoy it, well enough, but definitely crypto is where my heart is, and the more and more I get involved in the space, like it's pretty exciting to look at something and feel like, wow, I'm kind of on, we're on the front edge of this. Like we were just talking about mass adoption and how many people still don't even really know what it is. And so, I mean, we see the potential of how incredible this technology is and what it can do for society and for freedom and for human beings and really evolving our species. And so like the thought of being involved with that and helping to grow that as my actual full commitment, my full focus is pretty exciting. But I'm a pretty like conservative person when it comes to finances, and so I'm kind of like, well, I'll just kind of keep doing both for a while, and just kind of wait till it's really the right time.
I think it's the best way because you don't have to do anything. You can do anything, but you don't have to,
Exactly.
yeah. Because you don't have to do that, or you don't have to cooperate with some company to earn in crypto. You can earn in normal work. Okay, I have received email. I need to close it. Okay, but one more thing I have to add. Some people, at least in Poland, still view crypto as drugs, weapons, I don't know, anything illegal. How is it in the United States? Do people still consider crypto a crime or something illegal?
There's definitely some of that mindset. I would say that it's not like everyone thinks that. There's still lots of people that are like, oh, this is kind of cool, like that I meet. I would say more people think it's cool than think it's just for criminals, but I certainly have. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time someone was like, well, isn't that just for the black market? And I'm like, oh, no. And so it's definitely something that we need to get past. And, there's all this research on negativity bias that shows for one negative experience with something, you need to have at least 5 positive experiences. And so I think that, and actually what I often talk about on stage and what my talk is going to be on at my next conference I'm attending, which is Anarchadelphia, is about having like how these conversations we have with the people in our lives about crypto actually make a difference and they actually matter. And how, when our friends are like, oh, what's crypto? We tend to just kind of like word vomit all over them and be like, oh, it's decentralized and it's, got proof of brain and it's got all these things. And like, they have no idea what that means. And so how do we have a couple of like little mental shifts where we can have these more like impactful, curious conversations with the people in our lives about crypto? Because if they've heard like, oh, it's just used by the black market, the more like positive messages and the more positive conversations they have about crypto, the more it kind of erodes that worldview.
Yeah, people don't even know how the current financial system works.
Yeah.
Banks don't have the money. Yeah, if you want to, if all, well, not all, 30% of people want to withdraw their money from the bank won't have it. So,
Yeah.
so people need to realize it. And how about your parents? Because I had to explain to my father, because he is more tech guy. How does Bitcoin work? Because the first question was. How it is backed, because it has no value. How can you pay with Bitcoin? How can you receive normal money? And I had to explain to him how does it work. How was it with your parents?
It's still an ongoing conversation. I would say they're pretty conservative and pretty like in their ways. But yeah, it's definitely been interesting to have those conversations. And I have actually like a ton of siblings. So we talked about my sister earlier, but we have a lot of brothers, and so some of them are have taken an interest in, you know, learning about the fiat system and the Federal Reserve. And like, so it's been interesting to have those conversations with my siblings, you know, and helping them, you know, sending them some resources and videos and things that helped me understand just really how corrupt and messed up our own financial system is. And then that, like you said, kind of shows the value of how something like Bitcoin can, you know, can be valuable. And so that's been really interesting to have those conversations. And I've even started like, because it's hard to shop for my brothers for their birthdays and Christmas and stuff. So I've just started giving them Bitcoin for their for their birthdays and stuff.
Yeah, when Bitcoin hits 1 mil,
I was like, you'll thank me later.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sometimes you see in social media screams from the past where someone told, well, I should have kept my Bitcoin when it was like 9 cents. I have sold them for like 7, and now they are $30, and it was years ago. No.
Oh my gosh,
I think it was yesterday. I have seen a screen where one guy was selling 1,500 Bitcoin for like 15 cents per Bitcoin or something like that, and then he published his screen telling he should have kept, because now they are like $3, and today they are like 11,000. So.
Man, can you imagine being that person and knowing you let go of that much Bitcoin? Like, oh man.
Well, it could have been something like the pizza guy, the most the most famous pizza in the world.
Totally.
But I think this guy is doing I think he's Laszlo Heinech or something like that. I think he's doing okay. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Now, very interesting question I would like to ask you about IRS, because in Europe we hear that IRS hunts down people. They want the taxes. They have sent like 10,000 letters to the to the taxpayers. How does the truth look?
Yeah, I would say that at this point in time, there's not a lot to really worry about. But it's definitely moving in that direction. Like, you know, like you said, there's been all of these letters going out, which they're sending to just lots of people. You know, it's not like they're saying, hey, we know you have, you know, crypto. But I think that a lot of crypto projects, they want to get access to the US market, but they're nervous about the IRS. And so they set up globally. And I actually met a project, the founder of a project, I believe was called Prometheus, that it's a bunch of lawyers, and they're actually setting up kind of a consultant service in the sense where they'll help you get your crypto project registered in the States and make sure that it's totally legal. So I do think that crypto tax experts are going to be a massive career in the future, especially in the US, as people are nervous. Like, what triggers a taxable event? You know, what do I need to be aware about? I mean, with Binance deciding to not allow US users to really complete most transactions on their platform, I mean, that's huge, right? Like they're going to be more and more crackdowns, I would say, you know, of creating more legality around crypto in the next few years. I think that honestly, the IRS is just trying to figure out, they still don't really know what crypto is. I think they're still trying to figure that out, you know, so they're trying to figure out how they can even put laws around it. But what's great about crypto is that because it is, you know, decentralized and it is an open ledger, it's by design, you know, meant to be something that can be just peer-to-peer. So part of what I'm so excited about is that they really can't control it. They can make it a lot more difficult so that it's harder for people to, you know, buy crypto, to trade crypto, to do different things, but ultimately they can't stop it. They're just going to make it so it's more difficult for people to use, or that they have to jump through a bunch of hoops and different things like that.
Yeah, I think because Bitcoin doesn't even need internet, because it can work over the radio or something like that, or CB radio, or I don't know, many different things. And I think people should look at examples like Bangladesh, where crypto is fully illegal. Yeah, and there are people holding crypto there. There are exchanges. Of course, they are illegal, but people still doesn't care what the government has to say. And I think in the States, IRS is the smallest of the problems, because you have two agencies. One is CFTC and other is US SEC. And I think the SEC is the biggest problem, because they want to call all tokens security, and they want to issue licenses and other things like that.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, I think, in the next few years as they try to get their fingers all over it. You know, that's what government does, right? You create something and then they want their piece of the pie, even though they have nothing to do with it. So that's, you know, that's kind of how that works. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how they react, and then how the crypto market reacts by coming up with even more decentralized options where people can, you know, go peer-to-peer and be more anonymous. And so I think it's going to be a really exciting time, and really interesting to see them trying to take control, and then the market coming up with more creative solutions as well.
Well, but like I said, we in Poland last year we had so stupid tax regulation. So when you change your bitcoins for Litecoins or any other cryptocurrency, you had to pay taxes for it. It's plain stupid. And we did protest before our in our financial ministry, or I don't know how to call it. Yeah, financial ministry. And they changed the rules, so it's like capital tax gain, or capital gain tax, or something like that.
Yeah.
These days. But it was stupid, because you could pay in theory more than 100% of tax. So it was, yes. And because Bitcoin crashed, it was a very big problem for many people, because they had to pay more taxes than they had in crypto. So it was stupid. Of course, no one paid those taxes, because it is stupid. Okay, now let's move on. One more question about how do men treat you? Do they treat you with respect, or maybe do you have some crazy guys? Because I have heard most of stories I have heard are good, very positive. Basically, no one cares what gender are you. You want to be an expert, and people will hear you. But I have heard some bad stories too. How is it in your example?
Honestly, I'd say for the most part, it's been really positive. I think, like you said, people are generally just, you know, pretty good people. I mean, on the internet, you find a lot more trolls, you know, so I definitely have had some bad experiences, and just some really creepy guys, and just really condescending comments, you know, and different things like that. So there's definitely that piece of things. But for the most part, I think that people are respectful, and they are excited to have intelligent conversation with others about crypto. And you know, I think that they're excited to see more women in the space. And so for the most part, I feel kind of a level of respect. But yeah, that kind of dark underside is definitely there. You know, I could show you some screenshots of DMs of just horrible, like crazy things I've gotten. But
I can imagine.
Yeah, but you just kind of let those go. You know, like I've just kind of learned that sometimes I respond because I'm like, wow, you really need to know what a jerk you're being right now. But for the most part, I just don't even respond, and I just block them. And I'm like, you know, you're not worth my energy. And obviously, if you are so unself-aware that you would send such a demeaning message, like, me responding to you is probably not going to do anything. And so it just depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm, you know, feeling a little sassy and I'll write them back, but for the most part, I just block and move on.
Yeah, that's the best way. Block them. Don't don't respond to them. I'm asking because in Europe we hear different and weird things about United States. Like when someone wants to open a door for a girl, it's considered sexist or something like that. And I was told by my parents that I should always open the door for the woman and let her pass. So you know, it's crazy world today.
I think I mean, that's kind of a bigger question, right? You know, I think that generally speaking, you know, people, if you do a nice thing for someone, like open the door, like if the intent is good, that's probably going to be received well. I don't know. I wouldn't say that's necessarily like a sexist thing, you know?
Yeah. All right. And you have mentioned before that you were in Poland last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In a city of Krakow.
Yeah, I was in Krakow. So I was there for a crypto conference, actually Steam Fest. So we talked about Steam at the beginning of this interview. And so they have an annual, just really big conference. And so that was really fun. It was my first time in Poland and I loved it. The city was so beautiful. And like, I think what I loved about it is it's so much cheaper than the US. Like I couldn't believe it. Everything was was so much cheaper. Like I could go get like, and there were so many great coffee shops. I love coffee. And so I just would walk around and get like delicious, like, you know, doppio macchiatos for like $1. And I could take myself out to a nice dinner for under $10. I did all of my Christmas shopping in Poland because I was like, wow, my dollar goes a lot further here.
Well, if you went by a car, you would have seen how cheap Poland is, because gasoline is much higher price than US. It's like I don't know how much do you pay for your gas in the States, and you have gallons, yes?
Gallons. It's about $3 a gallon where I live right now.
$3 a gallon. I think how much 1 gallon is how much liters, because we use different units in Europe.
Yeah.
like
I think it's 3 or 4. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay, 3 liters. Let me do some quick math. We pay about $1.50 for 1 liter. So okay, so the price is higher in Poland, especially. And what do you think about the food? Did you try any Polish food or?
I did. I probably ate pierogies every day,
Yeah.
and I probably gained like 10 pounds. It was so good. Yeah. So I mean, I had some, you know, different like sausages and things as well, but I'd say pierogies was the main thing that I was excited to eat because I grew up eating pierogies, and so I was excited to get like really good ones. And oh man, I found this one spot. I forget what it was called. It was like Da Vinci, I don't know, it was something, but it was so good, and a whole plate of them was like $3. I went back every day.
Yeah, and it is just one part of Poland, and in my part of Poland there are many different like regional foods or something like that. So you can eat one thing in Krakow and just different things, and we are very close. I'm like 40 kilometers from Russia, on Bielorussia. So we have different food there. So sometimes when people come from Poland, like I give them something to eat from my city or from my region. Okay, and I think you went by a plane, yes, but directly to Krakow, yeah.
You know, I couldn't find a direct flight, so I stopped in Frankfurt. So I went Seattle, Frankfurt, Krakow. So it was a long day of travel. I think by the time I left my house to the time I was sitting in my hotel room was about 23 hours. So
yeah,
it's you know, travel is just, it's always a long day, you know. But especially going to, you know, more like Eastern Europe, that's pretty far. So that, for me anyway, so it takes a while. But a lot of the conference attendees live in Europe. And so for them, it was great. They loved, you know, just taking a quick flight or a train to Poland. But for us US people, it was quite the trek.
I always wonder why people call my country Eastern Europe, because when we talk about geography, I think the central point of Europe is about like 50 kilometers from my city. So it's and people call it Eastern
Yeah,
Europe.
maybe I'll start saying Central Europe. Sorry.
Okay, that's no problem. I get used to that, but I wonder when did it come from? Because all people talk about Poland like Eastern. Maybe it's because we were a part of Soviet bloc, so maybe that's it. And Russia is really big country.
That's true. Yeah, maybe that's it. I'm not sure.
All right. Now I would like to ask you about your future. You've told me that you want to go crypto all in, just like full time. But I don't know. You want to start your own project, or you have any different ideas for your life?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So kind of my trajectory over the next few years and where I kind of see that going is, um, obviously like with content creation that opens certain doors, but in terms of like the monetization and like where I'm looking to be able to support myself is, kind of three parts. So content, I'm planning to write a book, and so I'm excited for that. And then, but mainly speaking. And so that's an area that I'm looking to expand. And so they all kind of work together, by growing a social presence and, having a book and all that, that helps to kind of give a platform from which to speak. Because speaking is, I think, kind of where I get most excited. Like I really enjoy making content and doing videos, doing interviews like this. It's really fun. But I really love being on the stage, which is kind of a weird thing. Like I wouldn't have thought that. Like, most people like are like, wow, I would never want to speak on a stage. Like it'd be too nerve-wracking. But I started speaking on crypto stages just about a year ago. Someone that followed me on Steam asked me to speak at their conference, and since then I've just been getting requests to speak at conferences. And so it's just, I think that there's a certain I don't know, there's a certain power in being able to craft a talk that I'm really proud of, and then being able to share that and then have like in the conversations that opens, like when you give a talk about something and then afterwards you can have these really awesome, open conversations with people about that topic. And so I think that attending events, meeting people in person, and speaking being the way I do that is kind of what I'm most excited about in the future as I kind of evolve and grow in the space.
Well, I can say the same thing about me. It takes time to get used to speak, to get used to audience or something like that. But now I can speak for many hours, and just like I have told you about last local meeting in Białystok, it's like my speech was 40 minutes, but then I had to talk to people for like next 2 hours because they were asking me questions, they were talking together, and it was really great time for me. Of course, it is on my YouTube channel, but it's in Polish, so so I would have to add subtitles, so you could understand it. But it's a hell job to add subtitles to. I tried 2 or 3 times. It takes more time than recording takes less time than adding subtitles. I don't know. Maybe YouTube one day will do it for me. But for now, the AI is not just. Or maybe the Polish language is too difficult for AI.
Maybe.
Just
Yeah, and one of the things that I think that we were just talking about conferences is like part of what's so cool about the crypto space is the community and the people. Like obviously there's this incredible technology and there's so many use cases of ways that this can improve our world. And as we've talked about earlier in this interview, there's so much to be excited about in the space, and the fact that the community is so strong is part of the draw, and is really exciting. And so going to events and being part of that, you get so much more plugged into the community than if you're just interacting online. When you actually get to meet people and learn about projects and see, what other people are doing and get to know them in person, like you just can't replace that. And so that's honestly, I think that's kind of why going to events is, at least for me, so fun, is because you really do get to know people like so much deeper with, you know, a 10-minute conversation in person than you would interacting dozens of times online.
Of course, I fully agree. You cannot compare online interaction with live interaction. Yeah. You can, like I said, drink beer or coffee or speak about many different things. Then there's a body language, many different things. All right. Another question about how do you think will crypto be, or blockchain? Is it the future? Like internet, internet is everywhere. I don't know how is it in United States, but in Poland it's everywhere. Like everybody has mobile phone, everybody uses internet. I can go diving, and then after I finish diving, I can post my picture over the net, and someone from the other side of the world will see it. How do you think blockchain will work? Do you think cryptos will be everywhere? Or maybe it's just, I don't know, a bubble and it will burst and it will be end.
I think that as we get more and more practical use cases for crypto, and I think that kind of what we were talking about earlier in this conversation with how many people are just not even aware of the banking system and how it works and how money really works and how it's not actually backed by anything. And as you know, we have this inflationary currency and it continues to, you know, we've got this national debt that we continue to borrow against. And as the US dollar, you know, begins to lose value, which I believe it will eventually, and as people start to see and really get their eyes open to like, okay, this is inflationary, and the positives of having a deflationary currency like Bitcoin, you know, I think that as it becomes more and more apparent that this is a much better system and it's going to work a lot better, I don't think that people will necessarily reach that point until there's an issue. Because right now, people don't have to use crypto in their lives. You know, it'd be really smart if they started buying Bitcoin now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's going to help set them up 10 years from now, but they don't need to. There's nothing, like, they can run their life completely on fiat and be fine. And I think that as we start to see either issues with fiat and it, you know, crashing and different things happening, or we just see so many use cases that are so much clearly just better, I think that those two things will kind of draw people towards crypto. And so I think that, you know, obviously we're about 10 years in, right, with Bitcoin, and I think we still have a long way to go before it really, really, truly is kind of like the internet, you know, where it's like everyone uses it. But I do think that is the trajectory of where we're heading, because ultimately the market is right, you know, and blockchain technology is a far superior technology to the fiat system and our current system of government. And so I think that it takes a while for these kind of social changes to happen, but it's definitely the trajectory that we're on.
Yeah, I think I have seen a picture somewhere how much was US dollar worth in like 1930s and how much it was in 1950s, 1990s, and how much it is worth today, and it is losing value.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that a lot of people are still totally unaware, but more and more people are waking up to this and becoming more aware and becoming more, you know, maybe outraged is a strong word for most people, but becoming more like, wow, that's not cool. So we still have, I think, a long way to go in that as being like the general consensus shifting, but the more people wake up to this, I think the quicker it will happen. Like what we were talking earlier on how, you know, it takes 7 times for someone to hear something. So the more that, let's say, you know, someone named Susie, in her life, she has more and more of her friends saying, oh yeah, I'm using crypto for this or I'm that, like the more she's going to be like, oh, that's cool, and maybe get into it. So, you know, I think that as this kind of progresses, it's going to take a while, but I think that, you know, those, you know, each person that becomes more aware of it actually can help make a difference.
Okay, I would like you to ask one more question. It's not entirely crypto related, but I want to know the people's attitude, because in Poland, or I think it's in Poland mostly, when you succeed, people are jealous. It's like when you buy a new car people like jealous. Oh, he is a thief. He got this money from a crime or something like that. But the same thing applies to YouTube. So when you do some commercial, people say that you promote scam, or I don't know, you want their money, and they didn't even invest in that project, but they want to criticize it. How it is in the US? Are people jealous too, or maybe, or it is different?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's just kind of human nature. It's really interesting how people are really excited for you and they're rooting you on in the beginning, and then you hit a certain point and then it flips. And I think ultimately when someone's jealous, it is pretty much always coming from their own insecurities. You know, like they wish that they were where you are at. They don't understand it's not fair that you're there and they're down here, but ultimately it's like, you know, well, what are you doing to get up there, right? You know, and so it's kind of like my worldview is, you know, that really like personal responsibility. Like people have to take responsibility for their lives, and actions have consequences, but lack of actions also have consequences. So if they're not putting the work in and they're not, or they're not really focusing on the right things, or they're not doing what they should be doing to get where they want to go, that's on them. You know, that's not on you that you are doing the things that getting you where you want to go. So I just, yeah, I think that jealousy is, I've got kind of a short temper for it, because I'm like, you know, I'm doing my life how I want to do my life. You do your life how you want to do your life, and that's all there is to it. But yeah, that's definitely something that happens over here as well.
I think it happens because it's easier to blame someone, or be jealous, because I am not successful because someone stole something from me, and it's hard to say to yourself, I am not working hard enough, or I am not,
Hmm. Yeah, and I think with those people, like, you know, I try to have compassion for them in the sense that, you know, I understand that sometimes it can feel really frustrating when you're like, no, I have been working hard. Why am I not successful yet? And I think that, you know, that takes a lot of trial and error, right? Like you could be working really hard on something, and if it's just not clicking and not working, like that's okay. You can move on and try and adjust and do different things. And so I try to have some compassion for them, because I understand that that can be frustrating. But I also think that when they decide to take that out on someone else, that's when I don't have a lot of kind of sympathy for that, because I'm like, that's not a really, you know, you're not helping yourself out by negatively tearing other people down. In fact, like if you put that energy towards your goals, like you would be a lot better off right now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. In Poland, is there is also one more problem. Like every person is expert in every field. Like everyone is a medical doctor, everyone is a lawyer, everyone is construction worker. Everyone knows everything. So if I if I record a video, so I will use a hammer and nails, and I will hit hit those nails with hammer. They will tell me, you have bad hammer, you have bad nails. I would do it better.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much for this interview. I hope people could understand me because
Oh yeah.
because English is not my native language, and Polish is so much different than English. But English is easier, I think. If you
Well,
if
I think
you well
whatever
our
you grow up with is easiest for you, right? So
Yeah, and English is everywhere these days. But I think French people, someone told me that French people, they know English, but they don't want to talk English. They think the French is the most the most important English
language.
language language in the world. Yeah, that's like someone told me, like when you go to France and you want to speak English, they won't speak English. They say they
I've
don't
heard
know
that
English.
too.
So it must be the truth.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Mike. This has been just a really fun conversation, and I really appreciate being included in your High Heels on Bitcoin interview series that you're doing.
Well, this the name of the series in Polish is connected to one TV series, and in English it doesn't sound as good as in Polish. In Polish, when someone hears this name, he knows where it came from, and in English it's just the translations. Just like some sayings, you cannot translate directly from English to Polish, and the other way. So some things you cannot translate some things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And maybe you would like to say some Polish things.
Oh, sure.
Want to try?
Yeah,
Okay, let's try one thing. Pozdrawiam.
wait, say that again.
Pozdrawiam.
Pozdrawiam.
Okay. Okay.
What does that mean?
Pozdrawiam means I think it's like greetings or okay, let me find quickly translation because okay greetings. Oh yeah, it's greetings. Okay,
Nice.
widzów.
Widzów?
Widzów, yeah, very good, very good.
Oh, okay.
Kanału.
Say it again.
Kanału
Kanału.
Mike Satoshi.
Mike Satoshi, I got that one.
So it goes like pozdrawiam widzów kanału Mike Satoshi.
Ooh. I don't know if I can do all of that. Greetings, Mike Satoshi.
Yeah. It's like greetings all Mike Satoshi viewers or something like that. Loose translation.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I don't know if I can do it, but say it again slower. I'll try.
Pozdrawiam widzów kanału Mike Satoshi.
Pozdrawiam.
Widzów.
Oh, shoot. I lost it. I don't think. But
Well,
hello
it's
to
not...
everyone. Greetings.
Okay, it's not easy because someone told me that because this different language, different family of languages, our throats are different, and it's not so it takes time. Yeah, for little kids it's easier. They speak another language like they were born in this country, but for people like us, it's not that easy.
Right.
All right. Okay. I hope we will meet someday, or we'll do another interview in the future. Maybe when you will be full-time crypto.
I'll come back to Poland. We can have some pierogies.
Okay, no problem. Maybe I will be in the States someday. I would like to visit United States because I want to see, I don't know, Grand Canyon or Mississippi River, Mount Rushmore, or just Golden Gate Bridge. Many different things. It's a huge country, I think.
Huge. You could spend a year going around and not see everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I believe you. So thank you very much and goodbye to all.
Bye. Thanks, guys.